Uncle Thor here. We're going to talk about the idea of good and the Ase Rune. Basically, the Ase Rune being a rune of quality, good being a qualitative rather than quantitative assessment. And how do we measure that? How do we understand that? How good is good? Now, Ase comes from Aesir, an Old Norse name for the gods. In German, you have Gott, which is a god, and gut, which is good, both coming off the same root word. And the thing is that anything of the gods is considered good. The gods are good. Therefore, to pronounce something good is almost to say it has an almost godly quality to it. But we take this in a practical way. A good cup of coffee is good. And even that's subjective. If you have a diner making a good cup of coffee, most people who drink the American type coffee might say, yes, that is a good cup. But a die-hard espresso drinker would think differently because espresso is a different coffee and it's drank a different way. So good can be very subjective. How good is good? When I took college, I took a course in Oriental philosophy. And one of the first things the professor said is, in Asia, philosophy is to make the man good. In the West, religion makes the man good. Does it? Let's look at some of the religions around us. For instance, we have so many denominations. What might make someone a good Christian, those same qualities might not make someone a good Jew or a good Muslim, and vice versa and so on, if you think about it. And of course, it wouldn't make them a good pagan or heathen. The traits of what each religion wants are different. But even within one religion, there's a concept of how good is good. And this is a rather amusing thing. I grew up in the Northeast, and like around more than 50 years ago, in the religious schooling, and every denomination did it, Lutheran, Catholic, Episcopalian, other Protestants. It was all the same thing. Our denomination are the good Christians. The others, not so good. The other denominations, some of them might be even more flawed than others. And so one man's good Christian is another man's heretic. And if you think that's something, I was stationed down south for a while, in the deep south, in the Bible Belt, and down there where there were a lot of Baptists. And a lot of those people, and especially in that region, still had a lot of animosity towards Catholics going back to before the Civil War. And it was still around, and it wasn't very subtle. And so to a Baptist minister in Georgia, the Carolinas, Alabama, or Texas, his people would be the good Christians, but the Catholic might not even really be a Christian to him, might be a very bad Christian. Many of them acted as if they were one step up from Satanism. It's an interesting counterpoint. One man's good Christian is another man's heretic. And I'm sure that in different denominations of Judaism and Islam, you get the same thing. In Islam, there are some who think the Sufis are very inspired people, and there's others who think they're heretics and should be stomped out. And as we saw during the war with ISIS, one group of Muslims claimed they were the true good Muslims, and they thought nothing of annihilating the other group of Muslims, and vice versa. I mean, there was outright slaughter. It's an extreme case, but how good is good? What makes a good Muslim? Does being in the Sunnite sect do it, or does one have to be a Shiite? We never know. Religion, when it comes to good, what really is good? Now, our idea of good varies, and while the good of the Ase Rune is an absolute principle, its actual manifestation varies. And this is where we come to the idea of quality. What is a good thing? What is a good tool? What is a good utensil? Generally, you want something that will do the job you need it to, and to do it consistently. So many people in seeking quality have favorite name brands or favorite places to purchase their things. And this way they feel that this assures quality. that this particular maker or this particular vendor stands behind the product and assures quality, as opposed to picking stuff up at the dollar store, which comes from who knows where, China, Pakistan, wherever, and where the quality is not only not assured, but is probably pretty low. That thing isn't going to last so long. So which is more good? Quality is an assessment of good, of value. A good tool is one that's sturdy and won't break, that'll keep performing, that you can rely on. A good car is a car that's going to run well, doesn't have breakdowns, doesn't cause you problems on the road. You know, gives you a good ride, gets you where you're going comfortably, easily, without a hassle. All these assessments of good. So it's all, a lot of them are relative. A lot of them are subjective. One man's good might be another man's hell. Let's talk about the Christians talk about heaven. I know that if some of those good Christians are the people who are filling heaven, I wouldn't want to spend eternity there. I wouldn't want to spend 5 minutes. Their idea of good and mine are very different. So consider that good isn't an absolute, but it's a subjective thing sometimes. And yet sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is objective. As I say, good tools, good equipment has that quality built in. And we need to develop quality ourselves. Because for us, just good is not good enough. We have to do better. We as heathens have to set the example. And this means we have to be better than those around us. We have to be better. We can do this through education, through our work, through adhering to a higher set of principles. Because there's so few of us that in order to stand amid this majority of conventional religion, conventional society, we have to stand out by being better. Taking good to the next level. Good, better, which is more good, and best, which is as good as it gets. This is Uncle Thor. Have a good one.